Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto becomes serious after graduation part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. He was irritated. There was so much noise and on such an important day. His name was Uzumaki Naruto, soon to be shinobi of the Hidden Leaf Village. He was also the village's #1 undesirable. This was through no fault of his own, as the reason he was hated happened 12 years ago, on October 10th, the day he was born. The mighty demon known as the Kyuubi no Kitsune attacked Konoha. This, naturally, wound up with more than a few deaths and an obscene amount of property damage. It was stopped by one Namikaze Minato, the Yondaime Hokage. At the cost of his life, he sealed the demon into a newborn baby. The man's last words were a plea for the child to be treated as the hero he is for jailing the Kyuubi. For some strange reason, the village denied his request, treating the helpless child like they would a helpless demon. The Sandaime Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, tried his best to protect the child but failed miserably because he was unwilling to provoke confrontation. Shoot, if he had merely put his foot down once, the whole problem would have been solved. Instead, the old man threw him to the wolves at the orphanage where he was beaten daily, malnourished, and typically made miserable. He stayed there the first 3 years of his life and then was thrown out onto the streets. The next 3 years of his life were pure hell, but taught him a lot at least. When you're attacked every day, you learn to anticipate people's movements. When you're attacked shinobi, you get even better at it. When you have to steal to eat and hide to survive from day to day, you typically learn to hide from those hunting you, which made his stealth, and not sure how to word this, better than even the Anbu specialists. When your life is in danger and every mistake had terrible consequences, you learn how to sense people, whether they can hide or not, and you always catalog where someone can be hiding. That kind of sense never leaves you, because the moment you think you are in danger again, it resurfaces. He also gained a healthy sense of paranoia and more common sense and street smarts than most ninja. He also developed what could be considered natural Sharingan, because if it had a point A and a point B, he could dodge, provided he was fast enough. This would come in handy for his shinobi career because it would greatly help his taijutsu. He learned to read, to understand warnings, learned to write so he could make notes as to where to avoid. He learned what to eat and what not to both in the wild. He learned the best ways to steal, when to steal, and what is easiest to steal. For example, apples. Easy, oranges. Hard. He still had no idea why that was, but people have always watched oranges more. After the 3 years finally ended, the third Hokage found the boy while he was on one of his walks. At first sight, the boy wasn't much. Wearing pure grey clothes that seemed to have so many patches it was ridiculous. Long hair to his shoulder blades and tanned skin, walking with a limp and bleeding from his leg, a shoulder, and a cut above his eyes. The old man stood shocked for a few seconds before he managed to stutter out, "And Naruto?" Icy blue eyes had snapped to his, startling several years out of the man upon seeing the boy's whisker marks. "What are you doing out of the orphanage?" Naruto cocked his head to the side and then asked the obvious question. Well, 2 questions really. Who are you? And what's an orphanage? He had learned what he needed to survive, not pointless things like what sounded like a house, something he never happened. He did wonder though, was that the building that he was kicked out of? The Hokage was stunned for a few moments, then his face turned furious. He shouted out for Anbu and sent some to the orphanage and told Naruto to go with the others. Naruto merely glared at them and said, "Why should I go with those who will kill me?" The third got even madder and started to radiate killing intent and from now on Kai. By this point Naruto was able to stand up straight and his wounds had stopped bleeding, mostly healed. The third finally introduced himself to Naruto Hiruzen as the Sandaime Hokage. The old man asked Naruto to go with him. Naruto asked why. "So that I can get you to safety and a place to live." "Why do you care?" Naruto refuted. "No child should have to live on the streets." "Yes, but you just met me. How the heck do you know my name? Much less that I should be in an orphanage. After all, you should be way too busy to know even some of the orphans by name." This put the old man in a quandary. After all, he could hardly tell the boy that he was the container for a demon of damn near unlimited might. And he definitely couldn't tell him that he was the son of the fourth. So, how best to get this boy to be a good little weapon for the village, loyal and always willing to protect it? Of course, the boy would have to be forgiving and let go of his anger. Best go with the half-truth approach, then when he trusts me I can lay it out for him. I don't want to make him a weapon, everyone deserves better than that. But he's a Jinchuriki, and that is their only fate. Plus, it means the village will be safe for many more years, so it's one for many, and the choice is always obvious. I can't tell you right now, because I don't truly know. I just found you after the Kyuubi attack, no one claimed you so I put you in the orphanage." I tried to keep an eye on you, but I have been too busy the last 3 years. Would you trust me enough to take you to an apartment?" Naruto had looked at him, almost as if he was looking into the old man's soul. He nodded, but was still cautious. And so, the Saindom took the boy to his office to arrange for an apartment. On the way there, and while they were inside, the third talked to the boy about being a shinobi and how he should forgive them because the villagers are just afraid, and when the boy asked what they were afraid of, the third answered, "I don't know, my boy." The boy refused to forgive the villagers but was willing to look into being a shinobi. The Saindom went over all of the areas that a shinobi could specialize in. Tai, Gen, Nin, Iryo, Fuin, Ken, Bo, and Shuriken, all of them categories. All of these were capable of being learned by shinobi, and Naruto was given a brief overview of all of them. The Saindom placed a certain emphasis on ninjutsu, seeming to believe that he would enjoy them, or maybe he thought that Naruto would be good at them. It didn't really matter. After a few hours and many messages, the third brought Naruto into the worst district in Konoha, the Red Light District. Home of drug dealers, whores, pimps, murderers, rapists, and all-around scumbags. Potentially the #1 place that you do not want a child to grow up in. And the Hokage brought him to an abandoned building. Looking at it, its inhabitants would be lucky to have hot water, electricity, or anything of that nature. The old man took Naruto to an apartment on the 3rd floor, which was in only slightly better condition than all the others. "This was the best I could get you, I'm sorry." The boy had looked at him like the Hokage was now his worst enemy. He sighed and then said, "At least make sure you don't tell anyone where I live, no matter who it is, please. Considering that they will most likely try to kill me if they do find out. I don't believe it's that bad, Naruto-kun." Just a look was all it took to shut the man up. He nodded and then left. He had begun to leave Anbu guards but decided against it. After all, he needed the boy easy to manipulate and right now he most definitely wasn't. After the Saindom left, he took stock of what was there. A boatload of instant ramen, junk food, not something he particularly liked either, and enough money for maybe a month of life, as well as something in the closets. He couldn't really look at it directly because it was a blinding, kill me now orange tracksuit. He was honestly wondering what the fuck was with the Hokage. He encourages me to be a shinobi, but he gets me this crap. Does he want a ninja or dead kid? Naruto shook his head and sat down to puzzle why the man was actually interested in him. After about 20 minutes of trying to figure it out, he gave up because he needed more information. However, what he really needed was some clothes, proper food, and above all, shinobi gear and training. And, considering how every shop in all of Konoha except one kicked him out and they were all closed now, well, time for him to steal everything he needed. First stop was the shinobi gear shop that, when he went in not knowing what it was, the asshole in charge caused a mob to come after him. He knew what time most stores, including this one, so it would be no problem getting in. Naruto walked through the front door after picking it. In a stroke of luck, the owner of this store was out on business in Tea Country and he was a shinobi, so it was a very good thing. Looking around, he thought he had hit the jackpot. First thing he did was get some new clothes. He was going for comfort and maneuverability and saw damn near exactly what he wanted. Taking off his clothes, he changed into grey flowing pants, a black silk shirt, and a beautiful black haori. The haori covered his arms and the sleeves ended halfway down his hands. It also went down to his knees and had 4 outer pockets and 6 inner ones, all quite sizable. Grabbing several pairs of each and in progressively greater sizes, he bagged his items. Next were the weapons. He grabbed several sets of kunai, shuriken, senbon, and several spools of ninja wire. Bagging those, he grabbed all of the exploding and smoke tags, along with smoke pellets. Pocketing those, only a few hundred of the tags and roughly 500 pellets, tags fitting in one pocket and pellets in 2 others, he saw an ninjato hanging on the wall. 36 inches total, with a 9-inch handle, it was plain, just a leather-wrapped handle and an unremarkable dual-edged blade and standard strong tip, it was overall perfect for him. He took it and strapped it to the back of his waist, underneath the haori. Now for books, so as I can learn everything that old man was talking about earlier. And so he took the beginner's books for everything, including things distinctly non-ninja that they had for disguises or something like that. Nin, Gen, Tai, Shuriken, Iryo, Fuin, Ken, and Bo, along with sewing, cooking, poisons, plants, unlocking chakra and chakra natures, and even masseuse. Bagging those and a few things called storage scrolls, and having a little trouble carrying it all, he left, happy with his thefts. Well, almost leaving. Along with the holsters for each thing he got, he saw 3 strange holsters. Each one was green, with black seams, and it had a sign on it. Wrist holsters, kunai, shuriken and senbon. Channel some chakra into it and it will send a preset amount of weapons into the palm of your hand. Naruto decided to take all 3, they seemed interesting. Making it to his new incredibly crappy apartment, he put everything away and spent most of the night reading the introduction and unlocking chakra. As the year passed, he excelled in everything except Bujutsu and was easily Chunin level in everything. The only reason he was not faster than he was is because he could not wear weights. Oh, as soon as he graduated he would be able to, because that's one of the ways they schedule graduation. To make sure every student is capable of achieving their best. Anyways, he had yet to change his outfit, except for sewing a lifelike image of the Kyuubi onto the back of his Haori. Hey, if that's what the villagers call you, why not accept it? He had the Senbon wrist holster on his right wrist and the shuriken one on his left. Several storage scrolls and a kunai holster on each leg completed the tools he needed. His ninjato was still on the back of his waist, handle facing his left side, despite the fact that he was ambidextrous. His natural version of the Sharingan had improved to the point where he could keep up with people much faster than him, and so long as his body was fast enough, counter them. It had gotten easy to predict the other genin, even most chunin that he watched. However though, it was graduation day from the academy, and as stated before, Naruto was irritated by the loud noise. The class was perfectly fine until two fangirls stampeded in, screaming about how they were going to be the one to sit next to their Sasuke-kun. This being despite the fact that someone with half an eye can tell there is an open seat on either side of him. And these are supposed to be ninja. Pathetic. The worst part was this problem would last for at least 5 minutes and then Iruka would walk in and put a stop to it. Sure enough, 5 minutes later a shut up and sit down rang through the room. Everyone sat down and Iruka and Mizuki spoke a few words, then passed out the first part of the graduation exam, the written test. Naruto aced it in 5 minutes, flipped it over and meditated for the remaining hour and 55 minutes. After that it was time for kunai and shuriken targeting. 10 targets for each one, 1000 points for a perfect run. Which Naruto did not get. No one did. Naruto was holding back the entire time, except for the written exam. That was just too easy. The reason he was holding back was because he did not trust the Hokage with the knowledge of even most of his skills, as he knew the old man was watching. After that was Taijutsu. This was a tournament of spars between classmates, Taijutsu only. The battles passed without interest, the only ones doing anything worth noting was Aburame Shino, Akamichi Choji, Nara Shikamaru, Uchiha Sasuke, and Inuzuka Kiba, in that order. Naruto only fought just enough to beat his opponent. The final match was Naruto vs Sasuke, which Naruto forfeited. Sure, it caused everyone to insult him, but he did not feel like fighting. After that was the ninjutsu test, the basic 3, and Naruto accomplished that, became a shinobi, and went home. Where he trained his control to keep it at the medical nin level he had spent years accomplishing. If it was not for the fact that he trained everything but Bujutsu, Naruto would probably be high chunin at least, possibly low jonin. But there was massive difference in each level of shinobi, well, the stereotypical shinobi anyway. Instead he was mid chunin, and he was quite happy about it because there was no one as well-rounded that he knew of. An afternoon of training, and off to sleep he went because he just knew that the next day was going to be a pain in the ass. Naruto woke up in a decent mood, 3 am like he usually did so he could go on an early morning run without having to deal with that crazy dude in the green spandex. The morning went as usual, however, about halfway through he heard a commotion. As a shinobi should do, considering he was nowhere near the training grounds, he went towards the sounds. As he got closer, he saw the 2 academy instructors, Iruka and Mizuki. He hid himself and decided to listen to what they were saying. Mizuki was in the middle of a rant by this point, if that damn Kyuubi brat hadn't have passed, I would not have been caught by you Iruka. We were friends once, don't make me have to kill you. Mizuki took one of the Fuma shuriken off his back, with his left hand holding up a sizable scroll. Why Mizuki? Why would you take the forbidden scroll? Why are you betraying the village? Iruka drew several kunai, prepared to fight his former friend, but too confused to do much. Mizuki shook his head in disgust, spitting out the Kyuubi. I could not live in a village where the monster that took my favorite uncle away. That boy, Naruto, he's every bit the monster that the Kyuubi is and should have been killed the moment the 4th sealed the beast inside him. I was prepared to give him a chance, but he has no emotion, no good, only the evil that only I can see for some reason. Orochimaru offered me power, the power I would need in order to be able to kill that beast. All he wanted in return was the forbidden scroll. Naruto's eyes widened, thinking that explains quite a lot actually. Though, why did the 3rd not tell me this? If he wanted me to trust him, informing me of this would definitely be the way to go. While Naruto was musing, Iruka's eyes had widened, saying he found you after you killed that chunin on the mission didn't he? That was a mercy killing so he would not be tortured because we couldn't take him with us, and he corrupted you didn't he? Please, there's still time for you to turn back, we can return the scroll, and no one need ever know. Iruka's head lowered as Mizuki frowned at him. Corrupted me? I am going to do Konoha a favor. I am going to prevent that beast from ever betraying us and killing thousands. I am going to kill him and you if you don't get out of my way. A tear fell from Iruka's eye, for the man he considered a best friend and a brother, now lost because of one man's manipulations. I can't let you leave with that scroll, Mizuki. I'm sorry, but I have to take you in. Mizuki groaned, you could never beat me, Iruka. Not before and not now, I was always the better of us. If you refuse to move, then I will make you. With that, Mizuki threw the shuriken, and Iruka only just dodged it. Mizuki leaped at Iruka, starting off with an axe kick that Iruka dodged by jumping backwards. Iruka threw the kunai at Mizuki, but the man merely dodged them. You were never a fighter, Iruka, always a supporter and medic. It was true, Iruka mused. They had been a good team, Mizuki keeping the enemy ninja off of Iruka, Iruka striking the nin down from a distance. He was going to die from this, he knew it, and so did Mizuki and Naruto, who was hiding. A few more exchange blows, and Mizuki got behind Iruka, kicking his legs out from under him. On the odd chance I survive this, I am going to train my ass off into jutsu, Iruka thought. Any last, Iruka? Mizuki asked, standing behind him with a kunai to his neck. Iruka didn't do anything, letting the fact that he was about to die at the hands of his best friend sink in. Alright, for the record though, I wish it hadn't come to this. Mizuki stated. Iruka closed his eyes and then felt a weight fall on his shoulders, the kunai at his neck fell away, and he was driven to the ground by what felt like Mizuki's body. He picked himself up, shrugging the weight off to the right side. Looking at it, his breath caught in his throat, it was Mizuki, 3 senbon sticking out of his neck on the right side. Iruka checked his pulse, and the man was dead. Are you alright? A raspy voice asked him. Looking around him, trying furiously to find out where it was coming from, he heard a tinge of amusement enter the voice. I'm right here. Iruka looked at the voice and saw why he couldn't find it before. The voice was coming from one Uzumaki Naruto, who was picking up the forbidden scroll and was wearing pure gray. Naruto had not put on his Haori this morning, choosing only gray clothes, and in the current grayishness of when the sun is rising, but not over the horizon yet, it blended in with the background quite well. I'm fine, what are you doing? Collecting the scroll for the Hokage, then I will get the prisoner to him as well. Can you walk? Iruka was puzzled and his face showed it. Prisoner? And yes, I can walk. Mizuki has been placed into a near-death state, he will survive it and come out without any complications, provided he gains medical attention. Come on, let's get to the Hokage. Does anyone know that the scroll was taken? Iruka shook his head, no, nobody knows yet. I only came across him by accident, he had stopped to learn some of the jutsus. I was coming out here to why you were out here does not matter. You were not the traitor, so there is no point in explaining yourself to me. Tell it the Hokage. Iruka nodded, and then they left, Naruto, a boy the age of 12, carrying both the traitor and scroll. So let me get this straight. You were out for the whole night, trying to come to terms with exactly how you felt about Naruto, because of circumstances, and you found Mizuki reading the forbidden scroll of seals, you confronted him, he beat you, and right when he was about to kill you Naruto intervened. Yes sir. The Saindom sighed and rubbed his temples. How much of their conversation did you hear, Naruto? Most of it, as I arrived after their first volley, when Mizuki first attacked Iruka, I also learned that I held the Kyuubi inside of me. Care to share when you were going explain that part to me, as well as why I was the one chosen? There were several civilian and ninja orphans who share my birthday. The reasons the fourth chose you were his own, he did not tell me. I was intending to tell you upon becoming Chunin, giving you at least a chance at an ordinary childhood. Naruto looked at the old man, narrowing his eyes, you found me on the street, bleeding from several wounds, having lived there for 3 years. You had yet to even give me an apartment before you were pressuring me to become a shinobi. In what manner of universe is that a childhood? All of that was stated in a completely dead voice, which worried the Saindom. I really hope he does not go missing, Nin, this might be just the push he needs. Don't even bother answering that, I can guess. You wanted me to be completely loyal to you, because you rescued me, and by proxy the village would have my loyalty. Naruto merely shook his head. I'm going now, I do not want to be around any of you. And he left, leaving the Saindom to wonder if it would have been better to let Danzo at him. At least I would know he's loyal, but to sacrifice someone's emotions would be far too much for any village. Sir, with all due respect, is it really wise to just let him go? What do you want me to do? If I send anyone after him, or go after him myself, I risk pushing him away from the village, and as you know, every village wants more Jinchuriki. Especially Kumo and Iwa, and Suna would accept him too. He would probably be treated better in those places too. Iruka nodded and left, leaving the Saindom to try and figure out a way to ensure the village would survive if Naruto released the 9 tails. After Naruto left the Hokage's office, a little frustrated and very upset at the village, not that any of this showed on his face, he left straight for his apartment, considering before he had to go to the academy, he had to train in the most relaxing yet frustrating kind of jutsu he knew, Iryujutsu. Better known as medical jutsu, this branch of the shinobi arts was far more frustrating than any other because of Naruto's chakra. He had been training his chakra for nearly 6 years, and if he stopped for a week his control was shot all to hell. The reason being was the amount of his chakra. Even before he started training everything, his chakra was growing fast. Small increments, sure, but still growing, and every time your chakra grows your body needs time to adapt. That's why most shinobi only have to master the chakra exercises once, because their chakra grew slow enough for their body to adapt to it, and if it did expand rapidly, then they would usually be using chakra to make it do so, keeping their control up to par. That was one of the reasons the fabled hero's water of Takigakure was lethal to the drinker, along with opening the 8 gates of chakra. Both of them forced the chakra coils of the human body to expand, forcing chakra production, and the body didn't have enough time to adapt to it, not only shooting your control all to hell, but rushing chakra to every point of your body, including the brain and heart, both finicky places, required certain amounts of chakra to function properly. Too much or too little, and whoever it was would be doomed to death unless the balance was restored. That was why opening the 8th gate was lethal, it shoved too much chakra to both the brain and the heart, causing them to eventually shut down. While Naruto's problem was nowhere near that serious, it was enough that it caused him continuous trouble, especially with something as precise as medical jutsus were. It had originally caused some trouble with Yinjutsu as well, but he learned to adapt with that at least, unlike Iryu Jutsu, which had to be precise. A few hours of training that, he looked into the scroll he had obtained that morning. While Iruka and Mizuki were fighting, he had copied every jutsu on the scroll that was not a suicide jutsu, which left him with all of 6. Out of 50-something jutsu in the damn scroll, 6 were not suicide. Naruto sat down to learning the ones that caught his eyes, the Kage Senbon and Kage Bunshin no Jutsus, and Bunshin Daibakuha, the exploding clone jutsu. It took 2 hours to learn them, with his chakra and control level it was easy. By that point it was nearly time to head to the academy to learn of his team, which wound up with him on Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura's team. He had no idea why he was placed there until he heard who the sensei was. Pada Kakashi, Sharingan no Kakashi, the copycat nin, one of the many currently in the village who could take him down, but the one with the best chances to take him down once he grew stronger. Mido Gai would be a close second, but the Kyuubi's chakra was too poisonous for him to handle, so Kakashi's ninjutsu and Sharingan was the best bet. It was also possible that he was ordered to train the village's last Uchiha, while keeping the demon stunted. The man was also notorious for being 3 hours late to everything short of an air anchor hire mission. Blending into the shadows of the room, he settled in to read the next level of Yuinjutsu, considering he was an intermediate, the only thing holding him back was lack of experience making seals. Earlier that day. The day had been quite long for the Seindom, after he dismissed Iruka, he realized that, for now, he could not afford to allow Naruto to grow too strong, as the boy's loyalty to the village was not 100%. If he left things as they were, Kakashi, student of the 4th, would undoubtedly teach Naruto everything he knew, and then some, most likely calling in favors from the other Jonin, to ensure the boy was as strong as he could possibly be. After all, he held the 4th in high regard, and as the 4th's legacy, the man would neglect his other students in favor of the belief he would make his sensei proud by training his son till he dropped. That wouldn't do at all. Anbu, call Kakashi here, immediately. Inform him it is for an incredibly important mission. 2 sunshins later and Kakashi was in his office. So, what is this mission about? It must be important if you drew me away from my training plans. Yes, shocking as it was, Kakashi was working, and working hard. He was going to drive his sensei's son into the ground, again and again until the boy had surpassed him. At the least, so that both of them could make his sensei and adoptive father proud. Of course, he wouldn't neglect his other little genin either, just focus on Naruto the most. I'm afraid you're not going to like it, as it focuses on your genin team. Kakashi's eye narrowed, because if the Hokage said you weren't going to like something, you usually wound up cursing him for making you do it in the first place. He put away his icha, showing how serious he was, and gave the Hokage his full attention. You can't train Naruto. His loyalty to the village is not absolute. We do not need another Orochimaru. Kakashi just stared at him. Please tell me that the years of warfare have finally caught up to me. Please tell me that you aren't telling me that I should neglect the son of the 4th Hokage, therefore driving him even further from the village than you have already, the boy who I have looked forward to training for years, all because you believe he might go rouge. This is something he is well within his rights to do by this point, because of the fact that you forbid me from saving him, from being the older brother to him I was supposed to be. The 3rd was now privy to someone no one who lives has ever been. A furious Kakashi, this was the man with the massive bounty from 3 nations. You forbid me from any contact to him, and like a fool I listened to you. Kakashi's head lowered, and he continued. I could have lived with him, took care of him, prevented any of this from ever happening, and you wouldn't have to be laboring under the delusion that sensei's son would betray the village. The third's eyes hardened. I could not risk that. You would have killed everyone who looked at him the wrong way. Kakashi's glare intensified, but he didn't deny it. He had fought his hardest for custody of Naruto, at least 4 times a year since the boy's birth, but if the council didn't deny it, the Saindom did. And I'm not telling you not to teach him, I am ordering you not to improve his fighting capabilities, just train him in something that won't help him in battle. You cannot teach him. Instead, I order you to focus on the Uchiha, train him well, because his Sharingan may be the only thing that can stop Naruto if he goes rouge. You disgust me. The Saindom merely shrugged. I must do what is best for the village, and until I have irrefutable proof that Naruto is loyal to the village, I cannot let him get stronger. This most recent discovery of the fact that the Kyuubi sealed in him may send him over the edge. The Jonin gave him a pitying look. Without anyone there to comfort him, hell, not even a friendly restaurant owner to head to for a warming meal and a word of comfort, it may very well. If you had just let me adopt him, then we wouldn't be in this mess. Be that as it may, I am ordering you to focus on Uchiha-kun and don't teach Naruto anything deadly. Nor can you get another shinobi to do it for you. Kakashi seemed to almost break, then thought of something and cheered up. So I cannot help him directly, cannot get someone else to do it for me, and when I do teach him, I can only teach things that won't help him in combat, like tracking and stealth, stuff like that. The Saindom felt worried for some reason, but merely nodded. Kakashi shunshined away without a word, off to write training lessons and some jutsus from each element that he knew, to give to him at the end of tracking training sessions, leaving the Saindom worried about whether Kakashi would actually follow his orders or not. And so it was, 3 hours after our young protagonist settled down to read, finishing the book once and getting halfway through it a second time, Kakashi came in quite a good mood, compared to how he usually was, though a little regretful, and took stock of his genin. It was his kawaii little should-be brother, blonde hair, 3 whisker marks on each cheek, wearing a grey shirt, black pants, and a black haori, with what he already knew to be a lifelike picture of the Kyuubi on the back. It had caused quite a stir in Konoha the day he sewed that into it. His next genin, the fangirl Sakura Haruno, pink hair, pink dress, obviously dieting, and her record stated she was supposed to be incredibly talented. And the boy he was ordered to focus on, Sasuke Uchiha, supposed prodigy, black hair that looked like a duck's ass at the back, last loyal Uchiha, and he could already tell the boy would be arrogant as hell. He'd have to do his best work on that. Well, for now he'd start off with his usual. My first impression of you is I don't like you. The pink-haired fangirl looked heartbroken, the Uchiha hid his emotions nowhere near as well as he thought he did, and Naruto had merely put his book away. Meet me on the roof in 5 minutes. And away Kakashi shunshined. Naruto was pondering his new sensei. He and his genin team had been sitting on the roof for 5 minutes now, after the time he set. So, let's start off with introductions. Tell me about yourself, you, Pinky, you go. Sensei, could you tell us what you want? If Naruto hadn't have had years of practice at hiding his emotions on the streets, he would have looked aghast at the girl. Just give me your name, likes, dislikes, hobbies, and goal for the future, that sort of thing. Sakura just nodded and started off, or was about to. Can you start off, sensei, so we know what to do? Cue sweat drop from Kakashi. Well, I suppose, my name is Kakashi Haddock, I have likes and dislikes, I have a hobby or two, and my dream for the future. Men never thought about it. All we learned was his name was the combined thought of 2 genin, now you Pinky. My name is Sakura Haruno, my likes or dislikes are Ino Pig. My hobbies, she looked at Sasuke just like when she said likes. My dream for the future, she shifted her legs around and looked at Sasuke with a flushed look on her face. Is she aroused? Was the thought of Naruto and Kakashi. Holding off shivers, Kakashi nodded to the next member. You next, Emo. Said Emo glared at him. I am Uchiha Sasuke, I like very little and despise everything else. My only hobby is training, and my dream is more of an ambition. I am going to kill a certain man and then revive my clan. And now the blonde. Said blonde merely cocked his head and began his introduction. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I am currently unaware if I have any likes, dislikes, hobbies, or dreams. He gained 2 weird looks and one of approval. Well, maybe there is hope that he will pick up the lessons I'm going to teach him without letting anyone else pick up on it. Okay, I want all of you to meet me at training ground 7 in 10 minutes where we'll begin your survival training, Kakashi said. The 2 genin other than Naruto looked up in surprise. What? But we already did that in the academy. Screamed Sakura, causing the 3 males to wince while a window nearby cracked. What the hell? Is she trying to make us deaf? Thought everyone in the vicinity. Yes, but not my kind of survival training. Think of this as a test that will prove to me that you can be shinobi of Konoha. To tell you the truth, it is exactly that. This training will decide whether you will become ninja or just sent back to the academy. The test you took in the academy was designed to see if you have what it takes to become genin. But now, we will test to see if you are worthy to become shinobi of Konoha. I'll explain it in greater detail when you get to the training ground, Kakashi said and vanished via Shunshin. Naruto left, moving far faster than his two teammates as Sakura called for him to wait and the Uchiha tried to match his pace. Futilely, but Naruto supposed it was the attempt that counted. Arriving at the training ground, they clustered near Kakashi, waiting for the man to explain what exactly the test would be. Alright, for the first part of the test, you are to meet me here at training ground 7 tomorrow at 6 AM. Oh, and don't eat breakfast, or else you'll wind up puking. He shunshined away, leaving Sakura furiously shaking. Naruto started running, knowing that the explosion that was coming would leave him deaf, what with his sensitive hearing. Did that baka just tell us to come here only to leave the test until tomorrow? That stupid baka. She would have continued on a lot longer, but she had nearly screamed her throat out from just that. The three genin went their separate ways for the night, Naruto to train his dodging, new jutsu, and most especially his Kenjutsu Senbon style of fighting. Sakura left to primp in front of a mirror for several hours, then eat 2 bites of her dieted meal, then sleep. Sasuke left to train his jutsus, practice his sneers, and train his taijutsu a small bit. It was 7:30 and Naruto was going to the quietest place in the village, the area around the memorial stone. It was a good place to eat or just spend time. There was usually a shinobi, Kakashi, there as well, just like he was this morning. An hour and a half after they were supposed to arrive. Very dedicated to his students, wasn't he? Instead of hiding on the other side of the memorial stone like usual, he sat down next to his soon-to-be sensei and opened his meal, an old recipe he had found in the library, and it was delicious. Didn't I say not to eat breakfast? Pausing in his preparation, Naruto replied apathetically. Didn't you say to be there by 6? If you can break one rule, I can break another. Kakashi shrugged and then his stomach growled. Naruto looked up at him, asking him if he wanted some. Kakashi looked at the food, it looked like rice with some sort of white gravy and bits of meat in it, along with round circles of cooked bread. It smelled good, even it didn't look entirely appetizing. What is it? This is sausage gravy over rice, with biscuits. It's very good, give it a shot. Kakashi shrugged and sat down, accepting another plate that Naruto unsealed from a scroll. Kakashi looked curious, and as he pulled the mask down to eat, he was about to ask a question, but Naruto cut him off. I was going to give to my teammates, but if they are dumb enough to sit there 3 hours without breakfast, they don't really deserve it, do they? Kakashi shrugged and took a bite and looked like the newest version of Icha had just come out. This is really good, how often do you cook? I've been cooking for myself for years, it's rather relaxing. I've gotten quite good at. Naruto stated with some pride. Kakashi decided he might as well get to know his sensei's son rather than the crap that served as introductions yesterday. So, how about you tell me a little about yourself? I'll go first as a gesture of good faith. My name is Kakashi Haddock, my likes are Icha, lazing about and irritating people by arriving 3 hours late and reading Icha in public. My dislikes are traitors, arrogant, and above all, fangirls. Kakashi shivered. My hobbies include reading Icha and irritating Might Guy, the taijutsu master of Konoha. You might want to look him up, although he is a little eccentric, he is the best person to teach you taijutsu if you have an interest in it. I also enjoy irritating Kurenai, the Jinjutsu mistress of Konoha, right now one of the best Jinjutsu users in Konoha, although, if it was not for my Sharingan, she would have Jinjutsu'd me to death by now. I have a friend named Asuma, wind user, skilled jonin. My dream for the future is to make my father and sensei proud. Naruto nodded and then asked. What is a wind user? Someone who focuses on mainly wind. Ah, a wind user is usually found in Suna, but a wind user is someone whose chakra nature is wind. You find out your chakra nature with the aid of chakra paper. So that's what those papers were for. Taking out a scroll from an inner pocket of his Haori, he unsealed several pieces of it. So, what do I do, just channel chakra into it or something? Kakashi nodded. Doing so, the whole paper crumbled into dust. So he's an earth nature, eh? Well, that's good, I know a great deal of earth jutsu from when we fought Iwa. You're an earth type, that means that earth jutsus will come easier to you. Hey, the Hokage said I could not teach him anything dangerous, not that I could not teach him general knowledge. And now I know which scroll to make his target in our first training session. Well, you properly introduced yourself, so I guess I will return the courtesy. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, my likes are cooking, sewing, training, and a good fight. My hobbies are the former except for the fighting. My dislikes are arrogant people, traitors, fangirls, and when people are too loud. Dream for the future. I have never really thought about it. Just survive, I suppose. After making small talk and becoming genuine friends over the time they spent on that meal, Kakashi grabbed Naruto by the shoulder and shunshined off to the rest of the team. "Where the hell have you been? You're both late." Sakura screamed as miles away an Iwa baby went deaf. Back in Konoha, the three males were wincing and several drops of blood fell from Naruto's ears. "My hearing is too sensitive to hear that again, from now on I need to have earplugs in around her. If I hadn't have trained my senses this wouldn't be a problem." He had trained his senses out of necessity during the 3 years on the streets. Ma, we got lost on the road of life." Naruto plugged his ears, waiting for it, "Liar." She screamed, looking incredibly angry. Kakashi coughed, "Anyways, your objectives are these." Kakashi held up a pair of bells, then tied them to his belt. "The one that doesn't get a bell goes back to the academy, you have until noon to get these from me. The loser also doesn't get lunch." Two stomachs growled furiously, causing Naruto and Kakashi to stifle a chuckle. "Alright, begin." The three genin hit immediately, so Kakashi walked over to a tree, leaned up against it and stretched out his senses while reading a little of Icha Icha. There's Sasuke, hiding well, but evidently incapable of hiding completely. Other genin might not be able to see him, but sensing him is another story. Sakura, he could see her plain as day. The pink hair, pink dress, and the fact that she was screaming at Naruto. "You stupid baka. You're getting in the way of me and Sasuke-kun." Back to Kakashi, he was currently puzzled. "Naruto is the only one that she screams at like that, I've seen it before. But I can neither see nor sense the boy. This is ridiculous. I'm a retired Anbu that specialized in tracking and assassination, how the hell can he hide from me? Ah well, I suppose I should be proud. It will help him in finding what I need to teach him if he can track half as well as he can hide." Looks like Sasuke is preparing to attack. God, it took long enough, we've been doing nothing for 15 minutes. Then shuriken came flying out of the woods hitting the log that Kakashi had substituted with while Sasuke came out in the clearing. "You know, I figured that you would be a little better than that seeing as you're the last Uchiha and all." Sasuke glared at him and then charged. TSK, no patience, no planning either. The boy swung forward with a punch, dodged, used the momentum to launch a spinning kick, blocked. But the way this is going, I don't even need to put away my spoke too soon as Sasuke had nearly managed to touch the bells somehow. Sasuke started through hand signs, he can't do that, genins are not supposed to have enough chakra. Kaiten. Gakyaku no Jutsu. Grand Fireball Jutsu, Doten. Shinju Uzanshu. Inner decapitation skill, Kakashi muttered. The fireball raged overhead as he moved through the earth toward Sasuke, coming up underneath him, hearing him mutter left. Right. Above. He could not resist saying below as he dragged Sasuke into the ground, up to his neck. Dusting off his hands, he left, came across Sakura, knocked her out with an E-rank Jinjutsu, and finally found his should-be a Taudo. Or rather, he found what seemed like 100 senbon, all told, aimed at him. He substituted quickly, hey, they were spread out and damn well aimed as they pierced through the log. As he sensed movement behind him, he jumped forward and spun around, just in time to deflect several kicks that came from Naruto. The boy's arm seemed to be dead at his side and his face was dead, eyes ice cold. The boy's battle mode was on full blast and for some reason Kakashi was getting worried. "Oh? I figured that you were smarter than to take a jonin head on. Under normal circumstances I would not, but both of my teammates refused to work with me. So I have no choice, it is either this or set my training back a year." Kakashi raised his visible eyebrow. "Well, come on." Naruto charged forward, hand still seemingly dead by his side, launching a kick that Kakashi blocked with both hands, surprised by the lack of force behind it until he started spinning and landed a kick on Kakashi's head, hard. Or would have if Kakashi hadn't have substituted with a friendly log, which was promptly smashed. Turning his head towards Kakashi, he shrugged. A simple feint, but always worth a shot. A simple feint. With the way that kick looked like it was going to hit, he had put all his strength behind it. Yet there was barely any. How much has he trained his taijutsu to fool me? Admittedly I was underestimating him, but still. Naruto charged again, this time going in with a Konoha Senpu. Where the hell did he learn that? As Kakashi ducked the kick, Naruto's left hand snapped out and Kakashi only saw a glint of steel before his shoulder was cut. Kakashi lashed out with his right hand, which Naruto met with his foot and kicked against it using chakra, allowing him to backflip backwards, and during a flip, he filled Kakashi's arm with senbon needles. Landing, both arms dead at his side again. He cocked his head to the side. "You should probably step it up from Genin, Mr. Mud Clone." The clone smirked and dissolved into mud. Kakashi came out from behind a tree, unharmed. This time Kakashi was the one to charge at Naruto and launched a punch, followed by another, a third, then a kick, all at high chunin speed. Naruto dodged all of them, shocking Kakashi. I know he's not that fast, his eyes. Naruto's eyes, from the moment he began dodging and maintained it still, had taken on an incredibly focused appearance, the pupil shrinking down to a small dot in the rest of the eye. If Kakashi didn't know better, he would say they were eagle eyes put into the boy. Kakashi speeded up to low Jonin, causing Naruto to frown and barely dodge the multitude of strikes that Kakashi sent at him. Several minutes of that and the two separated, Naruto panting, Kakashi only lightly breathing. You're pretty good for a genin, you have not been hit yet, but I'm moving faster than you, by quite a bit. How are you able to dodge me, but not use your hands or arms at all? Naruto merely looked at him and drew a plain ninjato in his left hand while his right remained at his side. Kakashi's visible eyebrow rose, stating. You still want to fight? You do realize you can't beat me, right? Naruto's head lowered and then he leaped forward. Left slash, dodged, right upper diagonal slash, dodged, countered with upper left slash from kunai, dodged by Naruto, and retaliated with a hail of senbon from his right hand. Kakashi deflected them and was about to leap forward when the alarm rang. The pair leaped apart, Naruto replacing his weapons, attaching chakra strings to the senbon he had used and bringing them back to him, having to do this for only a few seconds, seeing as he used but a few, the rest were shadow senbon he had cloned from the original. Nodding to Kakashi, the pair walked back to the original clearing like nothing happened. So, care to explain how you were able to keep up with me and counter? No one else your age could do so, no matter how fast. Naruto looked at his sensei, stating if I can see it, I can dodge it. Kakashi looked at Naruto for more details, but none were forthcoming. The older man shrugged, then said. You go wake Sakura, I'll dig up Sasuke. Naruto nodded and in a matter of minutes everyone was gathered in the original clearing, around the three logs, while Kakashi tied Naruto to the pole, speeding behind him faster than he could see and knocking him out, then tied him up and woke him. Naruto shook his head and asked. Any particular reason you tied me up? Considering I was the only one to get a bell. Standing shocked for a minute, everyone looked at Kakashi's belt only to find a bell missing. Five eyes widened and Kakashi moved to untie him, only for Naruto to replace himself with Sakura. You neglected to restrain my hands. He stated while pulling out the missing bell. When did you get that? Kakashi asked, truly puzzled. I got it right before I confronted you, when you passed a tree. You were not expecting it, therefore you did not sense it. Jinjutsu is a powerful force. Naruto stated, with a little pride. Kakashi's visible eye widened, I was caught in a Jinjutsu. Naruto is a Jinchuriki. At this point, he should not have anywhere near enough chakra control, now or ever to use Jinjutsu. Much less one without him sensing it. Alright, Naruto is the only one of you guys to pass. Give me the bell dope. You do not deserve it. Naruto cocked his head, do not deserve it. If I gained one of my own merits, then surely I should deserve it, correct? Sasuke stood there glaring at him. I will have that bell, if not from him, then from you. This is not the way I would rather get it, but he's no match for me, and the Jonin is too good. Sasuke charged him, only to be tripped and sat on by the Jonin. Care to explain why you tied me up, Kakashi? Felt like it. Naruto merely nodded and sat down after cutting Sakura free. I am too bored to continue this, so you all pass. The objective was teamwork, which only Naruto got if Sakura's screaming was any indication, so normally I would fail you all. However, I have been directed to pass you all whether or not you should have, so I am not even going to bother with the next part. Just take a look at that stone. Everyone looked where he pointed, the memorial stone. Everyone on there is a hero to this village, heroes who fell in battle in the service of this village. Some of them could have been saved if everyone in this village followed a simple thing. Those who break the rules are trash, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. Got me? Sasuke, you took me on without thought for your comrades, they could have been killed. Sakura, you insulted and belittled your comrade without thought or even reason and gave away your position. Naruto, you tried your best to get them to work together, but they refused, so you continued on the mission, achieving your objective, even if it was not the way it was supposed to be obtained. So, therefore, you should be the only one to pass, but you're not because of external manipulation. So you all pass, meet me here tomorrow at 7 AM. Jana. And with that, Kakashi left. Naruto began to leave, but a yell from Sasuke stopped him. Dope. Fight me. Why? I am an Uchiha elite, yet was unable to get a bell. Furthermore, there remains the matter of team leader when Kakashi is not there. We shall fight for pride and leadership. Naruto shook his head but turned around and took a position, arms once again dead at his side. Any limits? No. Naruto nodded. For near 10 minutes they stood there, Naruto merely bored, Sasuke impatient. Sasuke finally had enough and charged him. He launched a punch at Naruto, who dodged, launched a side kick, which Naruto's right hand snapped up and caught the leg, causing Sasuke to grunt. Naruto looked up. It's over. and his left hand sped forward in a punch, hitting Sasuke in the balls, and while he was occupied with pain, he knocked Sasuke to the ground, on his knees, grabbing both arms by the elbow joint and locking them with his hands, which held two kunai to the back of Sasuke's neck. Master lock with kunai. Yield. Sasuke refused for some reason, so Naruto knocked him out by reversing the kunai and left him lying on the ground, Sakura soaking the front of his shirt with tears and screaming for him to wake up as Naruto walked away ignoring her. Kakashi was having a good day, better than he had for a while anyway. It started off with him sleeping until 7:30, a luxury that Kakashi rarely afforded himself. Then he found out that there was a surprise release of Icha Icha sent out today, thereby making his day even better after the extra sleep. About 8 he went to say hello to Minato, Obito, Rim and Tsukumo, his adoptive father, teammates, and father. Arriving there, he once again found Naruto eating breakfast in front of the memorial stone, back against the tree. This time the boy had a delicious looking food with an even better smell. It looked like a sugary piece of toast, drenched in maple syrup and was being eaten with a fork. Naruto nodded a greeting and unsealed another plate and held it out to him with a knowing smile. "Thank you." Another nod was his response. Trying this new dish, Kakashi once again felt like he was eating food from heaven. Where have these dishes been all my life? Only 2 of them so far and I want more, was his thought. Finishing the meal, the two sat in companionable silence for a while, both lost in their thoughts while looking at the memorial stone. After a while, Kakashi turned to face Naruto, needing a few questions answered. "So, Naruto, feel up to satisfying my curiosity today?" He spoke in his usual lazy tone. The blonde across from him raised an eyebrow, but shrugged. Kakashi took this as acceptance and so asked his questions. "I have several questions I would like answered. First, just how strong are you? I have yet to meet a fresh genin that could handle a jonin, even if I was only at low jonin level." Naruto was silent for several minutes, just looking at Kakashi, judging him. "I have trained my ass off for several years in every shinobi skill I could find. If I was to give an accurate estimate, I would say low chunin because of lack of fighting experience." Kakashi nodded. "What are your best and worst areas and what level are you with each skill?" Kakashi asked. "My best is my kenjutsus, whether with my single ninjato or 2 basic tantos. My worst will always be medical jutsus." "Why? You obviously have the chakra control necessary for them, despite the fact that it should be impossible," Kakashi stated, somewhat confused. Naruto gave a slight smile, filled with more bitterness than Kakashi had seen since the day Minato had been forced to sacrifice the child to save the village. "Did you know that there are 3 levels of Nin chakra control, Kakashi?" The blonde started off. Kakashi shook his head, surprised. "The first of these levels is the one I am at, more commonly referred to as the battle healer control level. This level of control, as the name states, is most common amongst the battlefield healers, mostly chunin and jonin, who have put some time into learning the medical arts. These people are capable of healing minor injuries and somewhat healing major ones. If they cannot heal them, then the healer can at least keep the injured alive until they reach a better medic, provided the injury is not fatal." Kakashi nodded, he understood this part quite well, having had his life saved more than once by these battle healers. In fact, his teammate Rim was one. The second level is the one that is most commonly seen in a doctor's or veterinarian's office. These shinobi have spent a considerable amount of time getting their control up beyond even Anbu level and can take care of most major injuries and diseases. These are the doctors and are the most common in a village. The third level is a level of unparalleled chakra control, reachable by only those who are born to be a medic. People like Tsunade or her apprentice Shizune, or even the heads of the more prestigious hospitals. They are masters of their art and there have been only 3 people in history to reach this level without being a medic nin. The confused look in Kakashi's eye prompted Naruto to list the 3. Monzaman Chikamatsu, the creator of puppets, Chiyo, his apprentice, and Sasori of the Red Sands, the revolutionizer of puppetry techniques. Kakashi nodded in understanding. He had seen the puppets in battle well commanded by Sasori and knew it would be next to impossible to replicate that sort of technique. His thoughts were cut off by Naruto speaking again. "Medical jutsu is, and now I know always will be, a major pain in the ass for me. Before I had no idea why, but because of the Kyuubi, my chakra will never go farther than battlefield healer control. There are continuous fluctuations in my chakra that cause me problems with both control and, for some odd reason, attention span." Kakashi looked confused in the short time he had known Naruto, as well as the large amount of times he had watched him, never able to spend enough time to watch him do anything important. The boy never showed other than smirks or frowns, a raised eyebrow, or anger in his eyes. That part was dealt with, but it was still an irritation. "Back to my skills, my second best is Genjutsu. I experienced a great deal of it during my youth. Kakashi felt like he had been stabbed at that, and I have grown to be far better than any of the ones who hit me with them. In fact, I have developed a rather unique kind of genjutsu. As for jutsu, I know only 6, but they can all be used in combat. None are elemental jutsu though. Kakashi waited for a few moments, but there was no more information forthcoming. Alright. From the way you fought me yesterday, I would assume you are mid-chunin as you said. However, your speed needs work, even if you could somehow dodge me with as fast as I was going. A small smirk was all that Kakashi got, telling him that Naruto was going to keep that to himself. Well then, I suggest you take up weight training, as that will help you with. He was cut off by Naruto, showing a wrist circlet with the kanji for 50 on it. Kakashi nodded, knowing that it was one of the weight seals. Looking at the sun, he estimated they still had an hour left before 10 when Kakashi would show up at the training ground. He took out a scroll and began writing. Break. Unlike a certain one-eyed jonin, Shimura Danzo was not having a good day. It had started off decently, with all of his children, the members of Root, returning safely from the various missions he sent them on for the good of the village. Contrary to common belief, Root was not disbanded, nor did it make emotionless tools. The whole reason for the third's belief of Danzo turning his shinobi into emotionless tools was because he taught them a battle mode where they could suppress their emotions rather than have them get in the way of the mission. Because Danzo didn't like Sarutobi, his children didn't like him either. So the battle mode was always engaged around the man, making him think Danzo destroyed emotions. Preposterous, Danzo thought. Root was like a large family, considering that every shinobi needed a family. Even the so-called final training, where a shinobi had to kill their best friend, was only a genjutsu that Danzo developed. After a short reunion, Danzo's day turned sour. A Root member reported that someone he looked out for, Uzumaki Naruto, was getting his progress impeded by Sarutobi. In order to understand just why Danzo was looking out for Naruto, one had to know about Danzo's beliefs. First and foremost, Danzo hated orphans. Well, he didn't hate the children, no, he loved the children. What he hated was the idea of an orphan, the idea that a child would grow up not knowing about his parents and would not be able to grow in a nurturing environment. That was why Root took young children rather than taking already trained shinobi, so that the child could grow up in a decent environment. Even now, after Root was forbidden from existing, Danzo was still a well-known figure of the village orphans, taking time out of his busy schedule to visit as many as he could. Second, Danzo was a man who would do anything for Konoha. Regardless of what it took, he would do it if it meant protecting his village. Because of this, he became listed as the Yami no Shinobi, an S-rank ninja despite his age. He lived up to his title too, at least before the Kyuubi attack fucked him up beyond all recognition. Third, Danzo had been an important factor in the Kyuubi assault. He had led Root into battle with all his might and heart in it and paid for it with his right arm, as well as ruining his chakra control. Sure, it was still great, but he was no longer stronger than Sarutobi. These three factors led to Danzo taking a greater than usual interest in young Naruto, the boy being both a Jinchuriki as well as an orphan. Normally he would just ensure that the Jinchuriki was properly trained and was able to use the tailed beast, but with Naruto, he was forced to do more. For the first 7 years of the boy's life, Danzo had been kept extremely busy. Sarutobi thought that he had been busy, but Danzo and Root were the reason that Konoha had not been invaded after that debacle. It had been once the Root member assigned to Sarutobi reported and that Danzo remembered him. Furious at his forgetfulness and failure, he had personally seen to it that the boy got all he needed to when he decided to rob the store that night, even going so far as to place his old ninjato in there for the boy to use. He often watched the boy train, finding a great deal of pride in how a soon-to-be Konoha shinobi could succeed with damn near everyone in the village against him. Sarutobi preached the will of fire, but it was Danzo who saw the potential for it in this child. He even ensured that the boy found a few jutsu to use, as well as making sure that the ninja and store owners were never around during the boy's midnight raids. He had grown to see the boy as one of his children, even if Naruto had never met him. So, all in all, it was with no small amount of anger that he walked towards the Hokage's office after the shinobi reported that the imbecile was attempting to stunt the poor boy's growth. Of course, none of this showed, and he was going to give no indication that he even cared about the boy, it just wasn't Danzo's style. He was an aloof but approving person. Break. Sarutobi knew that it would be a bad day when his ex-best friend, Shimura Danzo, walked into his office with his slightly limping gait. What do you want? He nearly snarled, only holding back at the last minute. I wish to discuss the Kyuubi Jinchuriki and how you are destroying one of the village's best potential resources. The Warhawk's gaze was penetrating and judging, the only person since the Nyadami to make him feel naked before it. He didn't even bother asking how Danzo knew about his most recent order, the man always knew. Would you prefer another Orochimaru? After all, Naruto could easily become a threat to the village, abandoning us at a moment's notice. The single brown eye bored into him, making him feel like a mouse before the raptor. You know as well as I do that when a student is properly trained, a bond forms between the student and sensei. A Jinchuriki needs these bonds in order to control their demon, because otherwise they see no reason to fight against it when the demon attempts to take control. Because of your order to Kakashi, the one potential bond that would be allowed him had been cut off at the source. You drove away your student by refusing to accept that he needed a father figure in you. If you had stepped up to the task, Orochimaru would have never left. Sarutobi's head bowed, knowing that all that the child had wanted was a father, and Sarutobi had run from it. Furthermore, what has happened to your other students? One is ashamed to the leaf, drowning in debt and sake. The other is a useless pervert who refusing to take care of his responsibilities, even his spy network is terrible. Do you honestly believe that you are capable of preventing another traitor, if indeed the boy takes that path? You are so focused on manipulating the boy that you refuse to see reason. The old Hokage's head snapped up, eyes alit with an angry fire. So what would you have me do, give him to you? Have him turned into an emotionless tool loyal only to you? I think not. I am the Hokage of this village, and what I say goes. You are not to have any contact with him. The glare Danzo was leveling at him would have killed lesser men. As it was, Sarutobi could not avoid an ice-cold shiver running down his spine. This was the man that was feared in every shinobi village for 3 wars running. Emotionless tools. At least my projects do not result in failures and traitors. The arctic tone made Sarutobi visibly cringe. I may not disobey you, simply because you are my leader, however much I despise that fact, but I warn you now. If you continue this bullshit regarding the village's resource I will take steps to have you removed and have someone more suitable placed in that seat. The cage's head snapped up, about to accuse him of treason, but Danzo had already turned around and was walking out the door. He paused right before he opened it, leaving one final line. I'm quite sure that the Fire Lord would be incredibly upset to learn how you have treated the heir to the man he owes his life. Danzo was gone before the aged Fire Shadow could breathe again. Naruto looked at Kakashi, who had just stood up after stretching and looking at the sun. It's nearly 10, so we had best head over to the others. He said, somewhat sadly. Kakashi had no desire to deal with the other two ruining his day. How are we getting there? Naruto asked, as the walk would take 10 to 15 minutes. Shunshin, do you know it? Naruto shook his head, asking how do I do it? Well, Naruto would grow suspicious if I denied him knowledge after him asking for it, and the Hokage said nothing about what to do if he requests knowledge. Best tell him, and I can cover myself later. Kakashi thought with a glint in his eye. These are the hand signs, he went through them, there are only 3, and this jutsu is not that challenging. What most ninja have trouble with is the chakra amount required, but that should be no problem for you. Just focus on an area, make the image in your mind as detailed as possible. Oh, side note, try to avoid using this multiple times in a row, it tends to damage your leg muscles with too much exposure. The blonde boy nodded, formed the signs, said the jutsu name, and it brought him to the edge of the clearing. He frowned. That was nowhere near as difficult as I was suspecting. Kakashi had a maddening smile in his eye, making Naruto think he was missing something. Kakashi on the other hand was marveling at Naruto, even the so-called prodigies wound up running into something their first time using that jutsu, and Naruto stopped with plenty of room to spare from a tree. Well, let's go and face the team. He said, more cheerful at the idea than he had been a few minutes ago. Break. After an incredibly loud scream from Sakura, Kakashi had them start training. Well, teamwork exercises. Naruto accepted it and worked at it, but both Sasuke and Sakura complained about it, Sasuke because he needed power to kill his brother, not teamwork, and Sakura because Sasuke was complaining. Kakashi sighed to himself, not understanding why those two didn't pay attention during the Shinobi Academy. Iruka went over just why teamwork was so important to a Konohinin, and it wasn't just for collaboration jutsu. Famous teams like the Sannin, the Inoshikacho trio, or even the famous pair of the Nidaime and Sandaime. Those stories showed just why teamwork was important, but apparently it just went right over those two's heads. Finally tired of it after an hour with no progress, he decided to start the separate training programs. Alright, enough. Sasuke wasted no time in getting away from his two teammates. Alright, first, Naruto. Seeing as you were the only one, once again, to put any effort into working as a team, here is your exercise. Kasua's no jutsu. Inupak. A group of dogs appeared once the smoke cleared, and a pug wearing a leaf headband raised his paw and said yo. Ignoring Sakura's scream to talks. And the pug's indignant exclamation, Kakashi pulled out 8 scrolls and gave one to each dog, giving the final one to the pug. Alright, Genin, these are my summons, headed by this guy, Pakin. The pug waved. Naruto, these guys are expert trackers and stealth specialists. They are going to help you sharpen your tracking and stealth skills. Your objective is to find the scrolls that I've given them and to not get caught. Pakin will teach you a few things before we begin, and upon finding a scroll, you are to open them. I'll know when you have done so. I expect this exercise to take a while, several months in fact, so do not be concerned if you are incapable of finding them. However, to make it more challenging, here Kakashi regained the manic gleam in his eye, they will also be tracking you. Looking at the grinning dogs, Naruto felt a surge of anxiety. Alright, these are Bull, Urashi, Shiba, Bisuke, Akino, Yahei, and Garuko. They will be tracking you, and so will Pakin if you last 20 minutes into the exercise. Have fun. He finished cheerily. Naruto walked off with the 8 dogs, feeling like he was walking to his doom. The happy but crazy glint in Kakashi's eye changed into an evil one as he turned towards the remaining 2 genin. Now, let's see what we can do with you. He said, rather ominously. Break. Where is he? Pakin asked, thoroughly frustrated with the exercise. It had been 2 hours, and while no scrolls had been taken, they had yet to find Naruto either. Not even a glimpse had been found, even those leads were all dead ends. If it wasn't so frustrating, Pakin would be happy for the kid as he was doing something that had only happened with Uraya and Minato, avoiding a highly experienced pack of trackers. Naruto's eyes narrowed before he jumped, snatching a scroll and was gone before the dogs knew he was there. The process was repeated 7 times before he finally found the last scroll, guarded by 2 dogs and with the other 6 roaming around trying to find him. Naruto knew that there was no way to get to that without causing a distraction. He drew a kunai and tossed it far behind him. The sound of it hitting the trunk of a tree was just loud enough for the Ninken to hear, and the frustrated dogs all left except for Pakin, who was shouting at them to stay. Damn Ninken, every bit as childish as they were years ago. He muttered angrily. Where are you, Gaki? I'm ready for you. The continuous muttering made Naruto smirk, and he put his hands in a cross sign to use one of the 4 jutsu he got from the Forbidden Scroll. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. He muttered, an exact copy of him appearing next to him without the trademark puff of smoke. The clone nodded to him and went about the plan to distract the Ninken. Pakin shut up immediately, the smell of Naruto hitting his nostrils, and a wicked grin crossed his face. Thought there wouldn't be any of us here after your little distraction, did you? He muttered darkly. Well, I'll just have to disillusion you. Pakin ran, silently and swiftly, towards the origin of the scent. Naruto was hard-pressed to prevent a snigger at the serious little dog. Still cautious, he looked around for traps. Seeing none, he successfully grabbed the scroll, replacing it with a hinged rock that looked exactly like it. Pakin soon came back, once again muttering darkly about genin who were too talented for their own good. Escaping to a safer area, away from all the dogs, Naruto began opening the scrolls in the order that he found them. The first was an explanation of Earth-Nature chakra, as well as lessons as to how to manipulate it. Apparently the first exercise was to take a round flat stone and turn it to soil, then back to a rock. Once you could do that in under a second, you had mastered it. Most people worked to the point where they could do it in a few seconds, not bothering with any more. Opening the rest of the scrolls, what looked like an entire library of useful earth jutsu popped out at him, at least 2 dozen. A note popped out of the second scroll that he opened. Naruto. These are jutsu for your element. I need to focus more on your teammates, so other than a few tips I will be unable to help you. Learn these quickly. Knowing the council, they will attempt to force us out onto greater missions before you all are ready. Work on your taijutsu especially and incinerate this note once you finish treating it. The Chibi Kakashi with a peace sign was at the bottom instead of a signature, causing Naruto to sweat drop. He wondered just why the man would be training the other 2, but he accepted it, seeing as at least the man had provided for him. Scanning the techniques, he saw nothing over Chunin level, except for a mud dragon jutsu, but that one would take an abnormal amount of hand seals to accomplish. He needed jutsu that could be used in the heat of battle, not something that took a while. Looking over the jutsus, he noticed that a lot of earth jutsus required the user slamming his hands or feet onto the ground. He decided to try using only his feet after he got a hold of it. He began to incinerate the note, but as he crumbled it up he saw a note on the back. PS. Shadow clones return the memories of their lives to their creators upon dispelling, as well as being able to cast jutsu. Happy training. Naruto nodded at that, before burning it. He looked up and saw that he was surrounded by a group of irritated Ninken, but also with a grudging pride in their eyes. The pug came up to him, saying congratulations, you beat us. We expected this to take months. Your stealth is far greater than we expected, but your tracking could use some work. Naruto nodded in agreement. The pug smiled at him. In reward, I will allow you to touch my paw. He held out a paw, pad up, that was pink. It's quite soft and pleasant. Quite confused, but unwilling to risk getting bit, he touched the pad with a finger. His eyes widened as he realized just how soft it was. Pakken looked incredibly smug at his expression before stating no one ever believes me when I say it and they all wish they had pillows this soft. Naruto smiled at him. Well, our job is done here, see you Naruto. Oh, by the way, Kakashi will still expect you to be training tomorrow with our aid. Despite the fact that you completed it, your team will know no different. Have fun. With one final smile, oddly reminiscent of Kakashi's eye smiles, he poofed away with the rest of the Ninken. Odd group. Oh well, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Several dozen clones materialized, getting started on the manipulation, while a dozen more started the first jutsu. Naruto himself did physical training, expecting that the clones would not pass that back to him. Break. Is everything ready, Fu? Came the low voice of Danzo, speaking to one of his root members. Hi, Otu-sama. Was the monotone reply from the Abiram. We are going to leave the items at his apartment. It took longer than it should have because he has some rather fascinating traps, both regular and few in type, seeing the look on Danzo's face, that quite clearly said I don't care made him stop. Good. We can discuss traps later Fu, right now we have other things to be doing. The ninja nodded. Break. Kakashi finished a rather trying training period with his 2 genin, heading towards the last one, his preferred one. It was amazing how much difference there was between the 3. He came into the clearing where his Ninken said they left Naruto, only to see the boy himself staggering around in the middle of the clearing, blood leaking from a few cuts. The horrible moment passed, where Kakashi saw his teammate Rin instead of Naruto there, but the flashback was ruined by Naruto vomiting up blood. The crimson liquid spattered the forest floor, scaring Kakashi out of years of life as he was by the boy's side immediately, running one of the many jutsus he had copied over the years, the basic scanning jutsu, over the boy in an attempt to find out what was wrong. I'm fine Kakashi. The boy panted out, a little blood leaking out after each spoken word. Don't talk, you'll wind up killing yourself. The boy, oddly enough, smiled before roughly saying too much muscle training tore the hell out of my muscles. I'll be healed in an hour. Kakashi looked incredulously at the boy before assuming he had a concussion as well as internal injuries. He refocused on the scan just in time to find that the boy was right, but in a way he had never seen. A great deal of malevolent chakra was in his system, rocketing around the boy's destroyed muscles, and even as he scanned, the muscles were being rebuilt, thicker and stronger than they had been. Some meat would be appreciated though. Kakashi was about to ask why, but the answer hit him like his own original jutsu. Protein. He felt rather stupid, considering how fast the boy was healing. He would probably heal even faster if he had access to a raw source of protein, that being a major component of muscles. The extra fat would probably go a long way as well. He put the boy down at the base of a tree, leaning him up against it and spending a moment making sure Naruto was as comfortable as possible before creating a clone to keep watch and heading deeper into the woods to find game. Break. What the fuck were you thinking? Kakashi angrily asked. Cold blue eyes rose to meet his brown orbs, apathetic to his rage and concern. I did not intend to destroy my muscles Kakashi, he hissed, still not fully recovered despite the hour he had stated already passing. Yeah, but you did. What could you have possibly been doing to do that? It was with a mixture of curiosity and anger that he asked that, as he knew anyone else would have died without intensive medical treatment after that. Naruto sighed and started healing what was left of the damage, ignoring Kakashi for the moment. A vein above the older man's eye twitched, but he kept his temper, understanding that hurting the boy would be a problem considering how hurt he was. 30 minutes later, the blonde stood, a slightly arrogant smirk on his face. He finally spoke as he removed a pair of anklets and bracelets, as well as 2 pieces of paper from the pockets of his coat. I was training. And the boy vanished from view, Kakashi losing track of him completely. He whirled around upon hearing an ouch, seeing the boy reeling from a tree, with the impression of a Konoha headband in it. Note to self. Next time my speed greatly increases, train with it. Kakashi was amazed, but still angry, tapping his foot with his arms crossed, waiting for an explanation. Naruto turned around to face him, his usual cold expression back in place. I was training my speed, and I have learned that the best way to train in anything is with the threat of death near. So I had shadow clones, as well as earth shadow clones attack me while I was wearing extra weight. Unfortunately, I forgot that I was wearing chakra weights, so they increase every time I get used to them. By the time I figured that out, my body was incredibly damaged and there were several lethal attacks headed straight for me. I ruined what was left of my muscles in a desperate attempt to avoid it. Kakashi looked at Naruto, thinking not even Guy is that dumb. Flashback. Naruto could barely move as he was wearing a great deal of extra weight. He looked at the dozen clones waiting to attack him, one at a time to begin with, and nodded to show he was ready. The clone came at him full speed, with all one half of Naruto's skill and power. Half the chakra, half the power, after all. Ninjato in hand, Naruto waited for the clone, but wasn't waiting long. An upper slash was far too fast for him to even consider dodging, resulting in a sword wound crossing his chest. Another movement had a perfect X in blood across his chest. Eyes wide and panicking, Naruto swung his blade, the extra weight he was wearing, ensuring that it went harmlessly wide from the clone's dodge before the clone stabbed the ninjato into his arm. Blood sprayed onto the forest floor, but this had the added benefit of awakening a creature inside Naruto. The Kyuubi no Kitsune looked through its container's eyes, seeing the brat's idiocy, but decided he might as well help so that this didn't happen again. The atmosphere itself palpably tinged with murderous intent as Naruto's typical blue eyes changed into the Kyuubi's eyes. He vanished from sight, left fist slamming into the neck of the clone and destroying the entire head thanks to the chakra embedded in his fist. The other clone's eyes widened, but one advanced just the same. Naruto felt bloodlust for the first time in a while, eagerly killing clone after clone after clone. However, the Kyuubi's chakra rebuilt his muscles as quickly as they were ruined by the quick movements against the weight, resulting in said weight increasing. Two clones stepped up to fight him now, and Naruto's feral grin was countered by gleaming blades. He vanished, hitting the one on the left with a leaf whirlwind, but was blocked. The clone grabbed his leg and slammed him into the ground before twisting his ninjato into a reverse grip and stabbing downwards. Naruto once again felt like he was about to die, but this time his own ingenuity won out. Unable to perform a shunshin, he did the next best thing. Focusing a great deal of chakra to his foot, he kicked the clone's shin, releasing it on impact. In other cases, such as Tsunade, this resulted in super strength. Because of Naruto's lack of control compared to the Sannin, what he got was an explosion that launched him back at a great speed, but obliterated the clone. Many sets of eyes widened, as did the originals. Backflipping into a standing position using the momentum, he landed and attempted an experiment. Dozens of yards away from the other clone, he slammed his foot on the ground, chakra releasing on impact, sending him catapulting at such speeds that even his eyes could barely see during it. It was more luck than skill that resulted in his destroying the clone with his outstretched fist. Standing at the end of the clearing, watching the dozens of clones, he marveled in his new talent. He stomped again, killing 3 this time, before the rest of the clones began attacking him. He drew the ninjato from his arm and went to Murder City. Dozens of slashes killed dozens of clones, never a move wasted, even his new speed attack was refined, changing instead from one uncontrollable stomp on the ground, releasing a great deal of chakra to 10 speedy stomps with a lesser chakra amount, allowing him to control the technique, being able to use it on any solid surface rather than destroying said surface. However, he swiftly grew exhausted and wound up with 4 clones at 4 points around him. His body hurt, every movement screaming at him to surrender and die rather than deal with this pain, but he merely grinned. That sight set the 4 clones to an uneasy stalemate rather than test whatever the original was planning. That move turned deadly as he had time to gain the scattered dregs of his chakra for his and even newer technique. Ninjutsu? Earthbound Hawk. Staring at nothing, he barely heard Kakashi's shocked cry. He felt what was left of the Kyuubi's chakra working on his body, and while he knew he would survive, he also knew that he would never do something like that again. Then flashback. Now for a name, well, all I really did with it was pure speed, and while I grew to control it, it was always a close shave. Shave that will do. My newest speed technique, Sorrow. A month had passed since the day in the clearing, and Naruto could tell that things were about to get interesting. Or at least irritating. I need higher ranked missions so that I can get stronger. Give me a C rank at the least or I will go to the council. Came the angry scream of one Uchiha Sasuke. Naruto pulled out a book as Iruka began to scream about something that nobody paid attention to. After a while the Saindom cut him off by speaking tiredly. Very well, Team 7 will have a C rank mission. Iruka, bring in Tazuna. Kakashi and Iruka looked at the third like he was crazy. Naruto thought typical. After all, Konoha would not dare to do anything other than cater to the boy. He had no idea why either, because the boy was a major risk. Despite his own opinions, Iruka stepped out of the room, leaving Sasuke to gloat to Sakura about how great he was going to do, seeing as she was the only one who was willing to listen. Break. Tazuna felt like this was going to be a success as he walked into the mission room of the cage's tower. And he had chosen to savor the moment with a bottle of sake, the first he had had in years. He had had a small sip in the waiting room to help with his nerves, but he was waiting until he met the ninja to properly celebrate. So, it was safe to say that Tazuna had high hopes when he walked in. Now Tazuna was a pretty sharp old man. People in the elemental nations didn't live to be his age without picking up a trick or two, and his father had been a civilian shinobi during the last war. If there was one thing that was always pressed into his mind by his father, it was observation. Regardless of what was wrong with you, keep an eye on the people around you, and Tazuna had found it pretty sound advice. When he had looked up when the door to the mission room opened, he noticed that the shinobi who collected him seemed rather upset. Not sure why, after all the man had been perfectly fine when he had collected the other person Tazuna had been waiting with. Tazuna got up and walked with him to meet the shinobi who were going to protect him during the mission. The first one that he saw wasn't one he would trust if he was any less observant. Standing taller than the other people in the room, he was wearing a full bodysuit with a green vest over it, but there were pants over the bottom of the suit. He guessed those pants were there to prevent anyone from getting an eyeful of anything they shouldn't see. The face mask covered up most of the man's face, but right above it was a lazy eye, apparently wandering over him. Tazuna, thanks to his father, knew that the apparently at ease shinobi was doing the same thing he was, evaluating the people they were meeting. The leaf headband obscured his right eye from view, and an odd, with hairdo that looked like an upside-down fang made it so that most people would assume he was weak. After all, someone so odd and lazy-looking cannot possibly be a good shinobi, can they? If that wasn't enough, the Icha book held loosely in his left hand would have certainly completed the image. However, there were certain keys that Tazuna saw that most people wouldn't. The first was that lazy brown eye. Underneath a facade of warmth, welcome, and drowsiness was an eye he had only seen on those who had gone to war. Nearly impossible to describe, that eye was hard as steel and cold as ice, only appearing along with a threat. Second was the way that the man held his book. It was loosely held, but he could tell that a simple flick of the wrist would have that book flying at high speeds at him, giving the shinobi time to do whatever he needed. Third and final was a sense of unease Tazuna felt. That sense had been with him ever since his father died and had saved him from Gato's henchmen many times. It only popped up when his life could be taken by someone in an instant. This man truly frightened Tazuna, even more so than the masked people standing in the corner of every room, because this man wouldn't even hesitate to kill him if the man saw him as a threat, yet he could hide it so well that Tazuna knew he wouldn't pick it up if he hadn't been expecting it. The second person Tazuna saw was nowhere near as threatening, in fact she looked rather humorous. Listening to a third person with rapt attention and happiness, she looked like a puppy that was about to be fed. A pink skirt, pinker shirt, and with her eye-blinding pink hair, Tazuna wondered how she could even become a shinobi. She didn't look too strong, in fact she looked rather weak. Whereas every other shinobi in the room had pouches of weaponry on them, she had but one small case of something he didn't think was weaponry. When she spoke it was with a loud, shrill voice that nearly had him wincing, it just didn't fit with his idea of what a shinobi should be. The next one was a bit better, but Tazuna still had to stifle a snort. Talking to the pink-haired girl was a boy, just a little taller than her, but made taller by raven black hair that was styled to look like the butt of a duck. Tazuna had to shake his sake bottle to make sure he hadn't drunk more than he though, because he had never though someone would purposely make their hair like that. Still, he was at least more of a ninja than the girl, as he was well equipped and stood like some of the lesser shinobi he had seen outside, relaxed completely, but would be able to get to his weapons if given notice. He also stood like he had a major chip on his shoulder, and given the way he was talking to the girl, he had grown up with people listening when he spoke. Tazuna made the connection that he had grown up with a noble family. Yet something must have happened to that family, because even as the boy noticed he was there and stopped talking, he swept his eyes over him, dismissed him as unimportant, and started doing something. Tazuna wanted to say the boy brooding, as he could feel the emo from over here, but at least the boy was still aware of his surroundings, unlike his grandson Inari, whenever he went on the brooding trips he had. Tazuna looked around, seeing the Hokage he met earlier as well as the upset assistant. Aren't these shinobi supposed to be in groups of 4? His question was answered a moment later when he saw him. The only reason he saw this kid was because of sun-kissed blonde hair, and until Tazuna focused on him that was all he could see. The boy was wearing a mixture of gray and black that blended in perfectly with the wall somehow, despite the fact that the wall was a light brown. He took one look and knew that this boy was the sort of protection he signed up for. Where the man was without doubt a skilled shinobi, this one was unique. Wearing gray pants and a black shirt underneath his black haori, which looked like an overcoat really, as he had thought before the kid was quite talented at avoiding notice. A hilt of some sort peeked out to the right side of his waist, Naruto's right, and a pair of scrolls was on his left. The weapon holster of some sort was on each thigh, and he could tell that the boy could use it all. The boy's hands were crossed at his chest, but Tazuna could see the slight glint of a weapon in his right hand, the left crossed above the right and held in some sort of strange symbol. Tanned, whiskered cheeks drew his attention next, and he followed that up an aristocratic nose to find the eyes of a predator. Icy blue eyes burned into his own, small pupils reminding him of a hawk, forcing him to shudder, and feeling like a leaf in a storm, Tazuna hurriedly continued his scan, afraid of looking there too long. A leaf headband kept his blonde hair out of his eyes, the band a solid black, rather than the more common blue or green. All in all, the boy cut an intimidating figure, not even bothering to hide his intentions or lifestyle. The boy reminded him of a hunting hawk, ready to strike down his prey at a moment's notice. Tazuna was eventually drawn back to his eyes and the boy's eyes flashed into a real hawk's eye for a moment. Tazuna was the only one to notice this. He didn't want to upset the Jonin, but Tazuna realized that he would rather be a ways away from the boy. He decided he had stalled enough and decided to play the old drunk man because he feared he had spent too long observing them. So, these are the brats that are going to protect me. Break. So, these are the brats that are going to protect me. Came the rough voice from a wrinkled old man. Naruto looked at him, noticing that the man was a great deal smarter than he was letting on. The man raised a bottle at his side, taking a large gulp from it before continuing. We've got a scarecrow, a hawk, a pink shrew, and a duck but I thought I paid for hick protection. This was spoken in a little slur, giving the impression that that gulp was not the first he had had from that bottle. Naruto's eyes snapped to the man, wondering just why the man called him a hawk. A moment passed, and then Kakashi was holding back Sakura from trying to strangle the elder man, saying Ma, Sakura. We cannot kill the client, it's not good for the village. Kakashi looked at Naruto, and the boy saw that his team leader had noticed the same thing he had. The old man was more than he appeared, and he was hiding something. Azuna's eyes shifted between the two, before shrugging and taking another sip of sake. Kakashi spoke to him this time, lazy voice taking on an undertone of danger. I'm sure that my genin will do quite fine protecting you, and on the off chance that they get into something they cannot handle, well, I'm a jonin for a reason. The word reason was stressed lightly, just enough for everyone in the room to notice, except for Sakura and Sasuke. A sneer contorted Sasuke's features, before he said, rather nastily, I am an Uchiha, old man. There is nothing we will run into that I cannot handle. Said old man sent him a rather skeptical look, but kept his opinions to himself. Kakashi spoke up again, speaking calmly and without showing any sign of the disgust in his eyes at Sasuke's arrogance. I am Kakashi, Duckbutt as you call him is Sasuke. The boy glared at him now. Kakashi's eye curved up into one of his signature eye smiles, apparently taking amusement in the nicknames. The so-called shrew is Sakura, and Hawk over there in the corner is Naruto. He paused, eye flicking to Naruto and then back to Tazuna, taking a moment to both enjoy the aptitude of the nickname and to send a message to the old man. Stick close to us, his eye flicked over to Naruto again, and we'll make sure that nothing happens to you. Slightly reassured but upset over the fact that half of the team assigned to protect him was apparently not ready for the mission, Tazuna nodded. The lack of faith in two of his genin was not lost on Sarutobi or Iruka. Tazuna was not impressed, but spoke anyways. Very well then, my name is the Super Bridge Builder Tazuna, and don't you forget it. You all are to guard me on the way home, as well as whilst I finish up a bridge I am building. Kakashi nodded. Kakashi took his hand from Sakura's shoulder, before clapping both together once. Alright everyone, meet at the gate in an hour, that should be more than enough time to get everything together. Naruto and Sasuke nodded. Sakura took the moment to run out of the room like a headless chicken, screaming about something that was lost when the door shut. Azuna looked at Kakashi again, looked at Naruto, before closing his eyes in a brief prayer. Lord, I know I was never much of a faithful man, but if you help me live through this long enough to build the bridge to save my people, I will become your most faithful follower. Break. About 40 minutes after they separated, Naruto shunshed to the memorial stone, noticing Kakashi was there as usual. He walked up next to him, the two standing there in shared sorrow for a moment before Kakashi asked. You know, ever since you joined my team, every morning I come here you've been here. Why did you suddenly start going, and who are you here for? Kakashi thought it was a little blunt, but he had learned that Naruto would dance around a topic with the ease of an accomplished council member who had served as a con artist before that if he was anything other than blunt. Naruto waited a moment but said I'm here for my mother. That caught Kakashi's attention, and he only just held out from giving himself whiplash as he turned towards Naruto. You know who your parents are? He asked, genuinely curious. Naruto shook his head though, stating sadly only my mother. How? Kakashi asked. A bit of a smirk played around the boy's lips before he answered. My last name is Uzumaki Kakashi. I did my research. There have been 2 Uzumakis in Konoha before me. One was the wife of the first, Uzumaki Mito, but the second was far more recent. Recent enough, in fact, for her to be the best logical choice for my mother. Uzumaki Kushina, the bloody whirlwind, the red-hot-blooded Hiberno, just so happened to be taken off shinobi duty for 6 months before the Kyuubi attack. Kakashi's eye widened. He wondered why Naruto hadn't found out about his father if he knew his mother. Unfortunately, Kushina left no marriage certificate or even record of a boyfriend. Also, while I do not look much like her, I can see a bit of her in me. Even more unfortunate, I have found no picture that looks me, because I am forced to assume I look more like my father than my mother. This forces me to believe that either I am a bastard child or my mother was raped. Not much difference there. Kakashi's eye widened even more, horrified that Naruto could even believe that about his father. He yearned to tell the boy who his father really was, or at least arrange a picture to be shown to him and let the boy make the connections, but Minato had made him swear to let Jiraiya tell the boy. He sighed, thinking he could at least tell the boy something. Your mother was neither raped, nor are you a fatherless child. Your father was a great man and a hero. Both he and your mother died during the Kyuubi attack. Naruto raised an eyebrow before his eyes narrowed and he glared at Kakashi. So I am to understand that you knew my father, yet you are unwilling to tell me who it is. Kakashi winced, visibly. He could barely choke out the yes in response before he continued. It is not my place to, don't give me that crap. Either tell me or tell me who can tell me. Another wince before Kakashi answered. I am unable to tell you, but a man named Jiraiya can. Naruto's eyes widened slightly, recognizing the name. He nodded and decided that if what he thought actually wound up happening, he would kill that man. A few more moments of silence ensued before Naruto spoke up again. So what do you think Tazuna is hiding? Kakashi looked over at the shorter blonde, evaluating him. He knew Naruto could hold his own against at least Low Jonin long enough for Kakashi to end whatever fight he was drawn into. With his new jutsu arsenal he might even win. However, if Kakashi got into a fight, Naruto would be needed to protect his teammates, as well as the client. That would be challenging for even someone of his caliber, seeing as if someone was capable of keeping him busy, then any accomplice could attack Naruto and company. He decided to answer. I am not sure just what he's hiding, but I do know that it's giving me a bad feeling. Naruto nodded in agreement. You're going to have to keep an eye on Sasuke, and not just because he's your teammate either. If he dies then the council will banish you if you're lucky. Naruto nodded again, understanding that it was more likely that he would be executed. The council took every opportunity to cause problems for him after all. A while of standing in silence followed before the two shunshined away to the meeting point, arriving several minutes early. Break. Naruto was used to seeing many things, after all, he was either the invisible Kyuubi Jinchuriki or the evil demon brat that was to be scarred for life in every way possible. One thing he had never seen however was the effects of a pink-haired nuisance on a partially drunk old man. You could literally see the thoughts running through that man's head. These thoughts were do not kill the annoying shrew. Do not kill the annoying shrew, screw it, now she dies. Luckily or unluckily depending on your point of view, Kakashi stopped him from carrying out those homicidal thoughts by talking. Okay, has everyone got everything? His eye looked over at Sasuke, seeing a moderately sized pack filled with gear. He sighed, wondering why the academy never taught about sealing scrolls. He looked at Sakura, seeing a much larger pack filled with what he hoped was shinobi gear, but knew was useless stuff to impress Sasuke. Before he reprimanded her, he looked over at Naruto, noticing no change at first, just seeing a scroll in an inside jacket pocket from his angle. Nodding with satisfaction that at least one genin had common sense as well as being efficient, he proceeded to lay into Sakura. Sakura, what all is in that bag? She smiled at him, believing that she had done good as she began to list the items off, not noticing the growing irritation in Kakashi as she did so. I have a bit of food, seeing as I'm on a diet, once again not noticing even Tazuna's incredulous look. I have several sets of clothes, perfume, a nice dress, Kakashi's head sunk. A few lotions and creams, Kakashi's head rose a little in hope. For ensuring that I look good, his neck nearly broke with how fast his head sank. Still continuing on oblivious, she listed several other items that had absolutely nothing to do with ninja at all, or even what someone would bring on a trip to begin with, or at least not admit to bringing those items. Eventually, Kakashi stopped her, looking irritated. Sakura, give me your bag. Cocking her head to the side like a curious puppy, she was about to ask why, but he held out his hand with a stern look. She gave it over without a word. He walked over to the desk of the gate guards, Izumo and Katetsu, all the while saying. Now Sakura, you went to the Shinobi Academy right? She nodded, not sure where this was going. Did you pay attention during said academy? She nodded again, somewhat happily, saying I was top Kenwaichi of our age group. She chirped enthusiastically. Kakashi shook his head in despair. So Sakura, if you paid attention, would you care to explain to me the items a shinobi should bring on a mission? With a confused expression on her face, she nodded a third time and began to list, but he stopped her. Basics now, no need to go into detail. Shooting an annoyed look at Kakashi for the interruption, she started off. The shinobi basics are food, in the form of rations, bars or other healthy filling food, shelter, in the form of a tent, an extra set of clothing, and extra shinobi gear like kunai or shuriken. Kakashi nodded at this, taking in her now pale face, as she realized she had only one of those items, well, one set of shinobi items. She had plenty of clothes. Sasuke, tell me what you brought. With an annoyed glare, the Uchiha did so. I have kunai, shuriken, food, water, a tent, 2 spare sets of clothing, and a scroll from my family library. Kakashi nodded and turned to Naruto. Now Naruto, what do you have? Naruto pulled out the scroll from his Haori and opened it. Kakashi read over his shoulder aloud to the other two. Good 2 months worth of ration bars. Several sealed meals, pre-cooked and heated as well as meals that are edible cold. Clothing 3 spares of everything. Medical gear basic first aid kit, soldier pills, blood replenishing pills, additional bandages and a pot for boiling water. Shinobi gear 20 kunai, 40 shuriken, 100 senbon, 420 foot spools of ninja wire, several knives, and a collection of smoke, pepper, flash, colored, and explosive tags and pellets. Miscellaneous gear 1 2-person tent, blade maintenance and cleaning kit, various cooking supplies, a pair of books, and 3 scrolls. Kakashi looked at the other two before asking Naruto, and I assume you have all of this sealed into scrolls. Naruto nodded. He looked at Sakura's pale face before driving the point home to her. Sakura, what you attempted to bring on a mission is pathetic and could have easily gotten you or your teammates killed because of your lack of preparation. He glared at her before he upended her bag onto the Chunin guard's table, taking off the top item. Lingerie is not an acceptable item to take on an escort mission, Sakura. Everybody there stared at her as Kakashi took out a scroll and unsealed a new bag, full of proper shinobi materials. Turning to the assorted items, he ignored the pale and stammering Sakura as he proceeded to talk to one of the gate guards. Izumo, please burn all of that at your earliest convenience. He turned back to Sakura, glaring at her. Next time you attempt something so stupid you will get a lot worse than destroyed property. Kakashi snarled. Sakura picked up the pack, keeping her head down and staying silent, afraid of calling Kakashi's rage to her again. The one-eyed Jonin turned to Tazuna before speaking. I am sorry you had to see that, Tazuna-san. I am afraid that we were forced to take this mission a bit before we were ready for it. Nevertheless, we shall keep you safe. The partially drunk old man looked askance at Kakashi and chose to stand closest to Naruto, evidently the only truly prepared genin there, when the group set off in standard diamond formation. Kakashi and Naruto talked about various things, but after an hour the two sensed someone watching them. The Cyclops motioned Naruto to the front, barking an order at Sasuke when the latter protested. It was like this that they came upon a pair of puddles, one on each side of the road. Break. What in the name of? Are these two idiots? No, check that, are these two academy students? Kai no, they are the so-called demon brothers, Gozu and Mezu, ex-Kirinin. Why, in the name of all that is holy, would they disguise themselves as puddles? Kakashi sighed, realizing that this marked the end of the peaceful trip. Naruto's thoughts on the other hand were a great deal simpler. Kai, those two are a threat to the client. They shall die. And he did so, palming a kunai in his left hand. He waited until he was right in between the two before exploding into motion. The first thing Kakashi noticed after deciding on a plan to see just how good his genin were was a spray of blood, followed by a thud and a grunt of pain, followed by a louder yell. Naruto reached the center, every sense on edge, waiting for the opportune moment. Then he struck, the kunai in his left hand sent a spray of crimson all over the ground, originating from the throat of the left Kirinin. He kept moving, the force behind the slash sending him into a light spin, kicking out the other nin's legs from under him. Before the missing ninja could recover, he stabbed a kunai into the man's shoulder, resulting in a yell of pain, before yanking out the kunai and placing it at the nin's throat, his left arm now useless. Gozu wasn't quite sure what happened. One moment he had been standing, waiting to ambush a group of leaf ninja protecting their target, the next moment his brother was dead, his arm was ruined, and he had a kunai to his throat, glacier blue eyes burning into him, daring him to make a move. All he could focus on were those eyes and his pain, once it truly hit, only just holding back from screaming. Sakura stared, horrified, at the dead body and her blood-spattered teammate, as well as injured person underneath him. She was about to scream at him, but Kakashi's hand on her mouth prevented it. Look at the headband, Sakura. He ordered, forcing her head to look at the dead shinobi's headband when she didn't comply. Barely able to keep from retching, she saw the 4 river symbols split in half by a solid slash in the metal. Her eyes widened in realization. Missing ninja Sakura, who were waiting to ambush us, preparing themselves to kill. If they had succeeded in it, we would all be dead. Dead, Sakura. You signed up to be a shinobi, eventually you'll be the one killing them in Naruto's place. While this was going on, the Kirinin had been pouring out his guts in hope to avoid death, praying that he would live. There was so much he wanted to do, so many things Mezu had wanted to do, he couldn't die here, regardless of what it took. Look, we were hired by a man named Ga. This hurts Gato, he's paid a hit on that man's head. By this point Gozu was managing to muscle through most of the pain and fear, as a shinobi should be capable of. The man is angry cause the bridge builder is attempting to ruin his control over Wave. He hired us to kill him. Please don't kill me, I was only doing my job. Those icy eyes bored into him, seeming to dissect him, making him feel like a mouse right before being eaten by the hawk. Is there anyone else? Was a coldly spoken question from the apathetic blonde. Why yes, there's Momochi's abuse, a former member of the 7 Ninja Swordsmen of the Mist, and his apprentice don't know too much about her, please don't. The ninja panted, the fear making him short of breath, and he was beginning to go into shock. Feeling somewhat merciful, Naruto slit Gozu's throat, having learned all he needed to know. He stood up, drawing his ninjato and severing both heads before sealing them away. What are you doing? Can't you leave the dead in peace? Was the plaintive question from a disgusted Sasuke, reseating the Uchiha massacre again. Naruto looked at him like he was an idiot. Turning the heads of the ninja you kill in will give you the bounty that the shinobi had on his head, if any, Naruto explained. Kakashi frowned at him, ignoring the fact that Naruto couldn't see it, before admonishing him. You should not have killed him so quickly, Naruto. Now we do not know if there is anyone else who has been hired to attack us. Naruto now turned the "are you an idiot" look onto Kakashi before explaining what the ninja had told him. Kakashi felt somewhat ashamed, as he should have known Naruto was a bit better than that. He turned to Tazuna, demanding explanation and getting a sob story about his home and how Gato was draining it dry and killing all who stood against him. Kakashi sighed and was about to say something when Sasuke, recovered from his illness, cut him off. We should continue on, Kakashi-sensei. Our village cannot be seen as cowards. The Uchiha cannot be seen as cowards. Both Kakashi and Naruto glared at him, while Tazuna looked at him in hope. Kakashi pinched the bridge of his nose, asking okay, who wants to continue on to wave? Sasuke raised his hand immediately and Sakura shakily raised hers. Kakashi heaved a sad sigh, knowing that if he even dared to head back the council would have him ruined. He had no idea why the civilian council was given so much power, but he hated it. Fine, we'll continue onwards, he said, worried. The group retook their positions, except Naruto switched back to the left side rather than the front on Kakashi's order, having used a quick Doton jutsu to bury the demon brothers' bodies. The old bridge builder spoke to him as they walked. Why did you kill them? He was honestly curious, believing that someone as young as the blonde was, regardless as to how scary, shouldn't have to kill. The answer made him think about things far more seriously than before. They were a potential threat to you. When you hired a shinobi team to escort you, any proper shinobi would make the effort to destroy any potential threats before they can actually become a threat. It's how you, as the client, are kept safe. Evidently the boy took his job quite seriously, even now Tazuna could tell that he was on high alert, eyes flashing between his normal eyes and those hawk-like eyes that scared him so much. Despite that, Tazuna was reassured for some reason that this blonde child was on his side and willing to kill for him.